Countdown to a 50th year clan reunion. 30th annual reunion and more to come. By Simeon G. Silverio Jr. Published in the San Diego Asian Journal, a leading Filipino newspaper in San Diego, California. Last of 3 articles. Yesterday, July 8, 2006, my paternal relatives celebrated their 30th annual reunion in the Philippines since my grandfather died. Such a tradition is quite unusual for a Filipino family, or for that matter, any family. I have known of a lot of families whose members simply could not get along. Brothers and sisters bicker with each even long after their parents have passed away. So many family members are estranged with each other that it is quite sad to realize that even with the few remaining years in their lives, they still could not find it in their heart to forgive and forget. They end up not only missing each other's company, but worse, they deny their children the company of their cousins and their grandchildren the love and affection of their extended families. But not my paternal relatives. They have remained so close to each other in spite of the fact that my grandfather was a widower twice and ended up marrying 3 times. He had 3 families, united only by a common father. Yet, the step-siblings treated each other like they all came from the same set of parents. This is despite the fact that most of the brothers and sisters, especially those who lost their mothers at a young age, grew up poor. Still, they all managed to become financially successful. Their respective families are intact and love each other to this day. This is the story of the Solomon Silverio family, originally of Plaridel, Bulacan, and later Cabao, Nueva Ecija, Manila, Philippines and the United States of America. My paternal grandfather, Solomon Silverio Sr., being an only child, seemed to have enjoyed a privileged life as a kid. My father, Simeon Sr., was the eldest among his children. He was followed by his sisters, Lilay, Aining, and Mandang. When they were young, their mother, Lorenza, passed away. My grandfather, I surmised, left them to the care of his mother-in-law, whom my father mentioned in some of his stories as Inta. They lived in either Barrio Bintog or Chulianin in Plaridel, Bulacan. It seemed that my grandfather was an employee of a water company assigned in different towns. He eventually remarried and had 5 more children, Huleng, Nati, Luis, Gloria, Mili and Roger. I surmised that his second wife was from Hagonoy, Bulacan, because her sister, whom we call Grandma Indang, resided there. But then again, she might have just been married to a guy from that town and must have relocated there. A few years later, my grandfather's second wife, Caridad, passed away. My grandfather became a widower the second time. I do not know who took care of her children because my grandfather eventually remarried for the 3rd time. His 3rd wife, Soledad, was a bit younger than my father. So, by that time, my father must already been an adult. Since my father's oldest child Salvador, is at least 2 years older than the eldest child of my grandfather from his 3rd wife, my father must have been married by then. My grandfather had 5 more children in his 3rd family, Luz, Reynaldo, Solomon Jr., Manuel, and Zenaida. I am as old as Reynaldo, so I do not call him and his younger siblings uncle or aunt. They lived in Cabilla, Nueva Ecija since my grandfather was assigned there as a water company employee. All in all, my grandfather had 14 children. I surmised earlier that my grandfather's children in his first family, which included my father, lived with their maternal grandmother when their mom died. When the second wife of my grandfather died, I guess that her children lived with their siblings from their father's first family, which included my father. Again, this is based on the stories I heard from my uncle Luis, who eventually worked for my father's printing press. Uncle Luis said with fond recollection of his childhood years that when my father had not yet married and was working at the Bureau of Printing, where he learned his eventual lifetime business and profession, my father would go home to them during the weekends. They lived in the province and my father worked in Manila during weekdays. How do I remember my grandfather? I was already 30 years old when he passed away and I knew him well. When we were kids, he used to visit us at our apartment above our printing press business in Quiapo, Manila. He would come from his home in Cabao, Nueva Ecija and would bring some goodies he bought along the way. In Baliwag, Bulacan, he would buy the small, egg-tasting pan de sal the town has become famous for, from vendors while the bus picked up passengers. We would know he was in town when the mini pan de sal would be on our dinner table. They would be a special treat for us. I remember he was partial to my elder sister, in the same manner that Fei Li was the favorite of our maternal grandfather, Pablo Galong. Our paternal grandfather, Grandpa Solomon, had a reputation for being a gambler. One time, he had an extended visit at our house in Quezon City during the late 60s. It was days after the typhoon Daa Ding hit the city, and electric power supply was not available for weeks. We spent our evenings sometime daytime playing mahjong by the light of a candle. We caught our grandfather cheating as he hid a piece of mahjong under his palm. When confronted, he shrugged it off and simply said that he was merely showing how cheating is committed, so that we would learn and avoid being cheated on in the future. We had a good laugh. He passed away on July 10, 1977, a strange coincidence since it was the 65th birthday of my father, his eldest son. My grandfather was also born on March 11, the same birthday of my brother's son, Brian, who happens to be his first great-grandson. The whole clan went to my grandfather's house in Nueva Ecija, attended his wake for 3 days and saw him buried at a cemetery nearby. It was during that reunion when an accounting was done to identify all the members of his family. With 14 children and a lot of grandchildren who already had children of their own, it was like taking a census. It was also decided that from then on, the clan would gather one Sunday of July every year to commemorate his death anniversary and have an annual reunion. The responsibility of hosting the party would be assigned every year among the different members of the clan, from the first child of my grandfather to the next. Once his children have all hosted the reunion, the responsibility would be given from the first grandchild in each family to the last. Then, the torch would be passed on to the second grandchild in each family. This happened last year when my sister Flea, being the second child of my grandfather's eldest son, hosted the party. This year, the hostess was our cousin Ma Reng. She is the second child of my grandfather's second child, Auntie Lily. I am the third child of my grandfather's first child, and I expect to play host 13 years from now, in 2019, when I would be 72. I am pretty cocky. I keep telling my relatives to make sure that they do not miss my party. I know that since most of them are in the Philippines, only a few of them, those living in California, could make it. It would therefore be a small party, with less expenses. Besides, I have plenty of time, 13 years, to prepare. But knowing the dedication and love for each other among the members of our Silverio clan, I know I will have to host reunion party, when my turn comes. Time flies fast indeed. I could not believe 20 years had passed since I wrote this article in 2006. This Saturday, July 11, 2026, the Solomon Silverio clan will celebrate its 50th anniversary reunion with a grand celebration. The hosts made sure it would be an unforgettable event, with all my cousins wearing native costumes. A handful would fly in from the United States and many, I am sure, would be looking at the roast pig on the buffet table even while a long-winded program is being held. Happy 50th, and may we have more lechons to enjoy.